this exercise, we're going to learn how you can join two views together within Noetix Webquery. We're also going to talk about the different types of joins and some other information that might be useful when you're trying to do this. So just as you always do within Webquery, you'll use your username and password, the same username and password you use for eBusiness Suite and Oracle. We're going to log in using an Internet Explorer browser at the address that you see above. Click Login, and you'll want to select EMR Noetix Global to use the global login and click Continue. This is going to take us to the main startup page of Noetix Webquery. Now, just for the purposes of today's example, let's imagine that we're looking for some customer information. And not only do we want information about a particular customer, but we also want to see information about that customer's contact addresses. So you're probably already familiar with this startup page. If you're not, the first step that you're going to want to do when you log in as EMR Noetix Global is click on Noetix Global on Betsy Noetix Global. That's going to take you to a set of subfolders that are related to the particular areas that you might be interested in. Again, if you don't see the particular area that you're interested in, it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It might not have just been granted to you, so you'll need to issue a ticket with ITSS Help Desk, and they can grant you the folder for that area. In this case, we're going to click on Oracle Financials, and because we're looking for customer information, we're going to look in the receivables answers. Within here, we're going to see that we have a whole list of different views and folders that are available to us related to receivables and customer receivables. One that stands out immediately is the one in the lower left-hand corner, which is simply just related to customers. Now within there, we see that we've got a list of views that Noetix Webquery has already created for us, customized, and we can make these our own just by customizing them, as we're going to do here in a second. So looking at this one, for example, who are our customers and what are their addresses? Looks like a promising view. I click on that view and it opens up a submenu to the right-hand side where I can take this view and make it my own. I'm going to do a new custom query. Once I click on that, it opens up the query right to the columns section where I can see the column fields that Webquery has already identified for this view. I can add any of those that are on the left-hand side. But in this example, we're looking for contact address information as well as customer information. So scrolling down this list on the left-hand side, I see that there isn't anything related to customer contacts. But don't dismay, because you can add that information, and here's how we can do that. Simply by clicking on the VTables link just to the left of columns, I'm taken to another custom window where I can see the name of the view that I'm currently working in, which is the RAAGO customers. Now by default, when you'll notice down here there's a load related VTables button, and if I click on it, I'm going to see all of the different views that are related to the view that I'm currently working in, which is the basic information about customers, including their addresses. Now, as I was going to say, by default, this button is disabled for people when they log into Webquery. But all you need to do is to send a ticket to ITSS Help Desk and ask them to enable the load-related VTables button for you within Webquery. And I think it's probably disabled to keep people from going in and creating lots of different joins to different views, which will really affect the performance of the tool itself. So it's important for you to know how to do this and what you're doing while you're joining these views. And that's why I said at the beginning of this exercise that normally it's a good idea, if you can, to avoid joining too many of these views together, because the performance of the report is going to be affected by doing so. But in some cases, it just can't be avoided. And this is one of those cases. And so if you look at these list of related VTables, we can see that there's one here that's called contact addresses. So to join these two views, all you need to do is select that view And just like you did with the columns section, click the arrow to move it over across. You can see the type of join that you did by scrolling down and looking in the join section underneath the type. And it says I did an inner join by default. You can edit the type of join if you need to simply by clicking on Edit, and it'll take you to an edit screen where it'll give you a brief description as well as a visual representation of what views are available for you. If you look at the list here, as I mentioned before, by default it's doing an inner join, which means that both of these tables in this case are going to have to share the same customer number in order to return output. So for example, let's say I had a customer on my original view, but it didn't have any related contact address information. On the inner join, not only am I not going to get any information from the contact address view, but because they don't share that customer number or customer identifier, I also won't get any information from the customers. So if I wanted to be really safe in this case, I could actually select a left outer join, which would say, give me everything from the original view. You can see from this picture all the green, and anything from the contact addresses where there's a match. So it can get a little bit confusing, but once you get used to it, the concept is actually pretty simple. Just click OK, and you can see that the type of join that I created was changed to a left outer. Now, just as a little tip, sometimes if you find that your output has a lot of duplicates in it, it could be because your join might have been of the wrong type. And you can go in and play with it and change the type of join and see if that fixes the problem. Another tip, if you're finding that you're getting a lot of duplicates, is that you could go to the columns section and you'll see that there's a radio button that says hide the duplicate rows. And it takes it a little bit longer to run, but it'll help you avoid having duplicates in your output if you can't figure out how to get rid of them otherwise. So once I've joined these two views together, or VTables, when I go back to the columns section, if I want to access fields from one or the other, I just click on the drop down on the left-hand side, and I can see that I have my contact addresses view and I have my original customers view. Looking at the contact addresses, I can see all of the address information that's related to those contacts, and I can start to move those over if I wanted to. So if I wanted to say, is this a bill to address? Probably a yes/no flag. I click on that and drag it over. Maybe I want to see that address information, so I'll drag across the address lines with the city and the state typical address information that I might be interested in. I want to take a moment here, just in case you're not familiar with some of these fields on the top. You might have noticed that start with an $. Typically, just as a tip, these fields are indexed. So when you're doing filters or parameters or searches, it's a good idea to use those that have been identified with an $. In your search tool. That'll help you get the output back a little bit faster. So that's all you really need to know on how you join views together. Just as a word of advice, you won't want to join more than 3 at the most, and you're going to find that the performance really starts to suffer the more views that you join together. And so sometimes if you're looking for information that's going to require you to join more than 3 views, or even 3, you might want to break that query up into a couple different queries, and then you can combine them together in Excel or Access. You might find that your output comes back a little bit faster. So I hope that this was helpful to you. As always, feel free to reach out to me with any questions.